Why I got rid of my final expense telephone script that helped me make six figures after 3 years.
Before I forget, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
So recently, not so recently, I was online and I ran into a gentleman named Jeremy Miner. Jeremy Miner is the, I guess, the godfather or father of Nepq as it relates to sales. And so let me put it this way. When I first started telesales in my final expense career, I was utilizing a script that asked a lot of questions. And these questions, at some point, it felt like I was just going so long, just giving it so long, asking questions, trying to basically do 10% of the talking, 90% of the talking would be from the actual client or prospect or lead. And I was just like, oh my God, this is going so long. So what I did was I condensed everything and I started doing everything utilizing a script, whereas I could pretty much be in the quote process in about 15 minutes. Well, that worked. I mean, I was making sales, or I constantly make sales, and some of them I lose, some of them I don't. And when I lost a sale, I was like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? So I'm evaluating, and I'm thinking, what was it that I was doing wrong? So when I came across Jeremy Miner, I was like, okay, he's talking too much. I mean, he's not talking too much, but it's going too long. Nobody's going to let you spend all this time with them. And I just didn't see the value in it. And so what I did was I said, you know what? I am not stuck in my ways. I'm going to try this and see what happens. So I added back the questions that I used to ask, and I just didn't have it formatted right. So I kind of went through Jeremy's formatting and tried to figure some things out. And then I came across this lady, Dana, and I realized that her and I were representing the same company. And I was like, all right, well, let me see what she's doing. So I kind of dove into it. I added the questions back, and then I structured my script in a way that would be more like Jerry Miner in the Nepq. And here's what I found, my results. I found that I was spending a lot more time on the phone. Yeah. I also found I was doing a lot less talking. I was doing more questions than talking. And then I also found that when I got to the end of the actual conversation, that my objections were much less. But when I didn't spend the time that I should have, and I didn't do like active listening to what they were saying and responding to what they were saying, I found out that that's where I was met with more objections than normal. Now, I was so concerned about, oh man, I'm going to miss these sales and things like that. But here's the reality. The people I didn't make sales with, I probably wasn't going to make a sale with them anyway. And I did evaluate. I listened to my calls. I listened to myself, and I said, those people were probably not going to make a sale. I was not going to make a sale from them anyway. And at the same time, they would probably have canceled if we did make a sale. I don't have any problems with quote unquote selling. But the challenge was, could I do better? Could I do better? And that was the biggest key. And the answer to that question is yes. And that's why I decided that I was going to change that I was going to toss my script. I didn't really toss it. I basically just enhanced it and went back to some of the questioning that I was going to do when I first started in telesales. I was getting in such of a rut that I could basically, do sales with my eyes closed, but I was talking way too much. I remember I went through Billy Jean's course. If you don't know who Billy Jean is this guy. Billy Jean is marketing. When I bought his course, I listened to the call that I did with one of his sales reps. His sales rep forced me to convince myself that this was something that I needed. And that's exactly what we need to do when we're doing these telesales. We have to have them convince themselves that this is something that they need to do. We can't convince them that they need to do it. They have to convince themselves. Alex Hermosi, who's another guy, he also uses a technique. He calls it the closer technique. And I'm looking at it because I have it on my wall. Clarify why they're there, label them with a problem, overview their pain, sell them the vacation, explain away their concerns, and reinforce their decision. Now, that's a little bit different than what I do now, but the concept and the framework is that you're letting them do the sales. We're not selling the drill, we're selling the whole. If we can get them to understand the results, if they can talk themselves into the results of what it's going to get them based off of what we're doing, the results are the things that are going to get us to the end. We don't need to sell the drill. We need to sell the whole. The whole is the results. So that's what it was when that light bulb went off in my head. It was like, just because I was able to get through a sales call quicker, it's not the best method. The best method is, even if I have to make less calls, but I solidify my deals, I solidify the policy, I solidify the sale. It's much more important that I do that than if I get off the phone with someone quickly. So I just want to tell you guys, this has been a phenomenal time in business, because now in teaching this, I understand that there's a better way to do business. There's a better way to sell. There's a better way to get people emotionally involved. All right. That's when we think about being emotionally involved, that's the whole idea of NEPQ. My camera's shaking. So that's neuro-emotional persuasion questions. The neuro-emotional persuasion questions are what we're asking people in NEPQ in order to get them to sell themselves. I'm trying to think of something. There was a statement that back in the day, I can't think of what it was. I can't think of how the story went, but it was the whole idea of I am sold myself. I don't know if it was an acronym or something like that. If I could think of it, I'll do a video on it. But once you get sold yourself, it's a done deal. Once a person sells themselves, it's a done deal. So the whole idea of, me being good at sales, or me convincing someone, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Now, if you heard that, that's absolutely 100% true. So hopefully this video helps you in understanding that a person has to sell themselves. You cannot do the selling. Why are you here? What made you start looking? Why is that important to you? What would happen if you did not do anything? Okay, those are key questions that we need to ask these folks when we're doing these telesales, because if we don't ask those questions, we can make a lot of sales, but we're probably gonna get a lot of chargebacks too. And those chargebacks, you don't want to keep chasing them. You want to solidify the sale, solidify that residual income, and be able to have much more success and much more solid, firm business. And that way you can become more duplicatable, and you can help people do more, sell more, make more. All right. Take care.